Hello, everybody. I just wanted to comment on this. I don't know how many of you have seen this. This fellow on the screen is RFK Jr., the son of Robert F. Kennedy, always a Democrat. And this isn't about politics, folks. Well, maybe it is. But he's going to lay some information on you about health. And so he's been involved in, it's sadly that I have to call it alternative health, but he's been involved in health, true health, for a long time. He really cares about the future, about children, about children's health, and about our health. And he's always been outspoken about it, always been, or often been silenced by the media because of his views. Well, apparently he was running for president, and he realized because of the blockade by the media, he's not going to get elected. So he wants his message to get out. So he teams up with Trump, and Trump offers him a position, or will offer him a position in the administration. But put politics aside first, folks. I want you to hear this. I want you to hear this. And we'll discuss this. We need to discuss this because everything he says here is truth. And it's great to know that there's at least a politician that's understanding this and seeing this. So check this out. Here we go.
Today, 2/3, we spend more on healthcare than any country on earth, twice what they pay in Europe. And yet we have the worst health outcomes of any nation in the world. We're about 79th in health outcomes behind Costa Rica and Nicaragua and Mongolia and others.
So right there, we pay more in healthcare than any other country in the world, and we're at the bottom of the list in health. But now he's going to get into why. So first he wanted to give that, but now he's going to get into why that's the case.
Other countries, nobody has a chronic disease burden like we have. And during the COVID epidemic, we had the highest body count of any country in the world. We had 16% of the COVID deaths, and we only have 4.2% of the world's.
I'm taking a chance of putting this video on because he mentions the C word, but I think the important information, so hopefully they'll keep this video up.
Population, and CDC says that's because we are the sickest people on earth. We have the highest chronic disease rate on earth, and the average American who died from COVID had 3.8 chronic diseases. So these were people who had immune system collapse.
So understand, it's reported that the C word is going to affect people that have a better immune system more harmly than people that don't. So what he's trying to present here is, since we're the sickest nation of the world, this is why we suffered the most from this.
Who had mitochondrial dysfunction, and no other country has anything like this. 2/3 of American adults and children suffer from chronic health issues. 50 years ago, that number was less than 1%. So we've gone from 1% to 66%. In America, 74% of Americans are now overweight or obese, and 50% of our children. 120 years ago, when somebody was obese, they were sent to the circus. There were case reports done about them. Obesity was almost unknown. In Japan, the childhood obesity rate is 3% compared to 50% here. Half of Americans have pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. When my uncle was president, I was a boy, juvenile diabetes was effectively non-existent.
Are you listening to these numbers, folks? And believers aren't excluded. Are you listening to these numbers, people? This information is imperative, because this is the reality where we're at. People are worshiping their stomachs. Hear this.
A typical pediatrician would see one case of diabetes during his entire career, a 40 or 50-year career. Today, 1 out of every 3 kids who walks through his office door is diabetic or pre-diabetic, and the mitochondrial disorder that caused diabetes also causing Alzheimer's, which is now classified as diabetes, and it's costing this country more than our military budget every year. There's been an
Wow. Wow. Did you hear that? It's amazing that there's such a lack of attention to this by the government, and but by us on a personal level, because this isn't just national standards. You have to think about your own family. When you accept disease as normal or obesity as normal,
explosion of neurological illnesses that I never saw as a kid: ADD, ADHD, speech delay, language delay, Tourette's syndrome, narcolepsy, ASD, Asperger's, autism. In the year 2000, the autism rate was 1 in 1,500. Now autism rates in kids are 1 in 36, according to...
well, I'm not going to say this because it's a video on YouTube, but a lot of what he's saying is attributed to diet, but a lot of it is attributed to the V word. So I'm not going to say it because I don't want the video taken down, but it's what's went up in the last 50 years is how many V's they're giving to children, and there's definitely a connection. So let's continue to listen.
CDC nationally, nobody's talking about this. 1 in every 22 kids in California has autism. And this is a crisis that 77% of our kids are too disabled to serve in the United States military. What is happening to our country? And why isn't this in the headlines every single day? There's nobody else in the world that is experiencing this. This is only happening in America. About 18%, and by the way, you know, there has been no change in diagnosis, which the industry sometimes like to say. There has been no change in screening. This is a change in incidence. In my generation, 70-year-old men, the autism rates are about 1 in 10,000. In my kids' generation, 1 in 34. I'll repeat, in California, 1 in 22. Why are we letting this happen? Why are we allowing this to happen to our children?
Well, the good question is why we're letting allow it to happen. And he has a lot of information online about the V's and the connection between autism, but diet is definitely an issue, and he's going to address this a little. So this is going to be a short clip of him because the whole speech was about some other really important issues as well. But what he talks about here, the health, is amazing.
These are the most precious assets that we have in this country. How can we let this happen to them? About 18% of American teens now have fatty liver disease. That's like 1 out of every 5. That disease, when I was a kid, only affected late-stage alcoholics who were elderly. Cancer rates are skyrocketing in the young.
Did you hear that? Fatty liver disease used to affect alcoholics who are elderly, who've been an alcoholic for many, many, many years. And now it's affecting children. You know, that a lot of that's due to the diet. It's just, I'm so glad he was able to have a major platform to give this information out. Hopefully somebody, anybody will wake up.
And the young adult cancers are up 79%. 1 in 4 American women is on antidepressant medication. 40% of teens have a mental health diagnosis. And 15% of high schoolers are on Adderall, and 500,000 children on SSRIs. So what's causing this suffering? I'll name 2 culprits. First, and the worst, is ultra-processed food. About 70% of American children's diet is ultra-processed. That means industrial manufactured in a factory. These foods consist primarily of processed sugar, ultra-processed grains, and seed oils.
That's it. Ultra-processed sugar, ultra-processed grains, and seed oils. Folks, it's not complicated. If you care about your children and their lives, if you care about yourself and your lives, listen to this information. I've been saying this for years, so maybe if you hear from him, you'll think different.
Laboratory scientists who many of them formerly worked for the cigarette industry, which purchased all the big food companies in the 1970s and 80s, deployed thousands of scientists to figure out chemicals, new chemicals, to make the food more addictive.
There it is. There it is. Bam. Figured out new chemicals to make the food more addictive. Thousands of scientists hired by these companies in the 70s and 80s. Figured out chemicals to make the foods more addicting. There it is. That's it. The ultra-processed foods is what he's talking about. The foods are more addicting. This is why somebody will eat so much until their organs are bursting. This is why you can have somebody who's 300 pounds overweight still eat fattening foods and keep eating and eating and eating until they literally blow up. Literally blow up. Because there's scientists that put chemicals in the food to make them addicting. There it is. There it is. And if you don't believe that's true, you're seriously deceived. This isn't numbers he's throwing out. This is facts. Facts. And there it is. In the 70s and 80s, the cigarette manufacturers companies bought all the food companies and hired thousands of scientists to add chemicals to the food to make them more addicting. There it is. You're hearing this from what very likely might be a person who's going to take care of this. So I want you to hear these facts for themselves.
And these ingredients didn't exist 100 years ago. Humans aren't biologically adapted to eat them. Hundreds of these chemicals are now banned in Europe, but ubiquitous in American processed foods. The second culprit is toxic chemicals in our food, in our medicine, in our environment. Pesticides, food additives, pharmaceutical drugs, and toxic waste permeate every cell of our bodies. The assault on our children's cells and hormones is unrelenting. To name just one problem, many of these chemicals increase estrogen because young children are ingesting so many of these hormone disruptors. America's puberty rate is now occurring at age 10 to 13, which is 6 years earlier than girls were reaching puberty in 1900. Our country has the earliest puberty rates of any continent on the earth. And no, this isn't because of better nutrition. This is not normal. Breast cancer is also estrogen driven, and it now strikes 1 in 8 women. We are mass poisoning all of our children.
I've been saying this for years. We're mass poisoning our children. We're poisoning ourselves. I've been saying this for years because it's true. And we can do something about it. The information is there. And these things lead to other issues. So many other issues. But you look at the cost of Medicare, you look at health care, you look at the cost of everything, and all major issues in this world. These are the bottom line issues. You take care of these issues, you got a different playing field here.
And our adults. Considering the grievous human cost of this tragic epidemic of chronic disease, it seems almost crass to mention the damage it does to our economy. But I'll say, it is crippling the nation's finances. When my uncle was president, our country spent $0 on chronic disease. Today, government health care spending is almost all for chronic disease. and it's double the military budget. And it is the fastest growing budget item in the federal budget. Chronic disease costs more to the economy as a whole, costs at least $4 trillion, 5 times our military budget. And that's a 20% drag on everything we do and everything we aspire to. Poor and minority communities suffer disproportionately. People who worry about DEI or about bigotry of any kind, this dwarfs anything. We are poisoning the poor. We are systematically poisoning minorities across this country. Industry lobbyists have made sure that most of the food stamp lunch program, about 70% of food stamps and about 70 or 77% of school lunches are processed foods. There's no vegetables. There's nothing that you would want to eat. We are just poisoning the poor citizens, and that's why they have the highest chronic disease burden of anybody, any demographic in our country, and the highest in the world. The same food industry lobbied to make sure that nearly all agricultural subsidies go to commodity crops that are the feedstock of processed food industry. These policies are destroying small farms, and they're destroying our soils. We give about, I think, 8 times as much in subsidies to tobacco than we do to fruits and vegetables. It makes no sense if we want a healthy country. The good news is that we can change all this. We can change it very, very quickly. America can get healthy again. To do that, we need to do 3 things. First, we need to root out the corruption in our health agencies.
Make America healthy again, folks. That's it. So let's hear these 3 things, and then we'll close.
Second, we need to change incentives in our healthcare system. And third, we need to inspire Americans to get healthy again. 80% of NIH grants go to people who have conflicts of interest. These are the people.
That's it. Those 3 things. Make America healthy again. I'm in full agreement with what he said. His information about health is right on target. And basically what it comes down to is there's poison in our foods. We're poisoning our children. There's chemicals in our foods to make us be addicted to processed foods. And this is getting worse, not better. But we can change this around. But we don't have to wait for the government to get involved to do this, folks. We don't have to wait for this man to possibly get into office to do something. You can do something now. You can grow food. You can go get your food at farmers markets. You can stop eating the chemicals and the processed food. You can do that right now. Today you could start. You could start changing your health, your children's health, your whole family line. You could start today. I have thousands of videos online talking about this, and I'm here to help you. So please, please, please take this message seriously. Contact me if you want help. I do coaching, and I have a lot of videos online talking about this. And if you just watch the videos and apply the information, you'll be better. Overnight, you'll start seeing the difference. Within 1 month, you'll notice the difference, and so will everyone else. Within a couple of weeks, a couple of months, you can overcome the diseases that the doctors say you will have to live for the rest of your life with by just applying this information. You got to get away from the brain watches, the brain changes of the witch doctors out there. You got to get over that. Stop trusting people with your health. It's your health. Take it back. So I don't know how much more I can tell you all and show you other people that are talking about this, and the numbers are real. So I pray that you would listen, you would figure it out, and I'll give you some pointers now how to do that. If you have a microwave oven, get it out of your house. Replace it with a juicer and use the juicer. Make 1 juice every day of fresh greens. spinach, celery, cucumber, fresh greens. On your plate when you eat, make sure 3 parts of that plate contain something that's raw, ripe, fresh. And organic would be nice, but make sure it's raw, ripe, and fresh at least 3 parts of your plate. And the food that you eat that is not raw, ripe, or fresh, something that's cooked or something like this, make sure it's not fried. Make sure it's not cooked to a degree where you're destroying all the nutrients. So maybe steam it or possibly at worst bake it, but don't fry it. Don't, whether it's air fryer or pan fryer, don't fry it. Eat things that are fresh. Don't add extra oils to your food, the seed oils and things like this that are creating so much problems. And make sure that the food you're eating is food that you could digest. Limit the amount of processed food you're eating and get fresh food. Stop buying food in bags, box containers, and cans. Get fresh fruits and vegetables into your diet. Go online and get some recipes how to make these things. Go online and get a recipe how to make a fresh salad with a fresh salad dressing. Instead of buying it in a store that has so many ingredients you don't even know what's in it. On my site here, I show you how to make nice dressings for your salads. It's not complicated. And as for what you drink, it should only be 2 things you're drinking. Either fresh vegetable juice in a juicer or water. Those are the only 2 things you should be putting in your bodies from a liquid standpoint. A fresh vegetable juice or water. Get rid of all the soft drinks and the hard drinks and all these different things. Get rid of all the alcoholic beverages. That's it. Water or fresh vegetable juice. Fresh vegetable juice. Juice it yourself. Don't go to a store and buy something that's been sitting on a shelf for a month. Juice it yourself. And you definitely don't want to be putting in your body the dairy drugged up milk, the fruit cocktail, or the milk cocktails that's out there, the dairy cocktails. The milk and the processed dairy and all this garbage. No. Make these little changes and they'll go a long way. Another change, don't eat late at night. Don't eat before going to sleep. Don't eat late at night. Don't eat before going to sleep. Folks, these things I'm suggesting to you are very practical. You can do it. Don't let doctors tell you different, but you have to stop taking the addicting drugs first. Think about this. If there's chemicals in food to make you eat the food more, those chemicals are drugs. And if you're addicted to those drugs, you are a drug addict. If you're eating processed food and you're eating so much where you're overweight and can't seem to stop, you are a drug addict. You need to get off the chemicals. You need to get off the drugs. I'm here to help you do so. Follow this little information I'm giving you, and I pray that it'll happen quickly and you'll see the results. You'll feel better and you'll live better. I know from personal experience. I had a disease that the doctors told me there was no cure for, and I've been better now for many, many, many years. And you can be as well. Regardless of what the doctors tell you, regardless of those markets that call themselves super tell you, you could change it all around. Grow your food. Learn about growing sprouts in your house. If you don't have land outside to grow, you can grow inside. Learn about the things that you can do to eat better. Don't eat late at night. Don't eat before going to sleep. And don't overeat. The snacks you eat. You could have a wonderful snack of a fruit or a vegetable. You don't need the candy and the processed stuff, and you certainly shouldn't be giving it to your children. I pray that people are understanding this and getting this, and it'll help you. I know food tastes wonderful, but we're not supposed to worship it. and die for it. That's saying the food's to die for. No. We want to eat food that's to live for. Food that's going to bring us life, not death. Food that's going to give us health, not sickness. Food that's going to help us avoid and overcome disease, not create it. All right, everybody, put your comments, questions below. Thank you for watching. Have a great day and a great world life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the Raw Life Health Show. Raw Life, brighten up your life.